Fallout 4's balancing is whack. You see this raider here? He dies in 4 hits from a 10mm pistol. Okay, that's fine actually. I don't see a problem with that. But what about this gunner? He looks a little bit more prepared. How many shots do you think he can take? 10? 20? 30 maybe? Go ahead, take a guess.
5 hours later.
Bruh.
Did you guess 763? Well, if not, then you are wrong. That's how many shots it takes to kill this absolute unit. It took so long to kill this guy that day turned into night. So, next time you complain about a long time to kill in a video game, be grateful that it's not as bad as Fallout 4. Okay, to be perfectly fair, I am playing on very hard difficulty, and I'm using a basic 10mm with no upgrades or perks. But even if I were to upgrade the pistol and max out all my perks, it would still take a whopping 143 bullets to kill him. Okay, maybe his armor is just heavily resistant to 10mm. So, let's try something a little bit more powerful. How about a fully upgraded 50 caliber sniper rifle straight to the dome? Surely, that would be enough to... Oh, never mind. Turns out, it takes 29 headshots to kill this dude. With a 50 cal. This guy must eat 50 BMG for breakfast. Meanwhile, the average Deathclaw dies in 7 shots to the chest. So, you're telling me that this guy, a normal human that doesn't have any superpowers, is tougher than a Deathclaw, and a Behemoth, and even a Mirelurk Queen? In what universe does this make sense? I think you get my point. Fallout 4's balancing is atrocious, and it spoils both my enjoyment and immersion. At higher levels especially, you'll run into bullet sponges left and right. It's not even that challenging to deal with them either. It just becomes a boring war of attrition. Since the player character is a bullet sponge too, you both can just stand there, at point blank range, mag dumping each other without a care in the world. Does this look like fun or engaging gameplay to you? Like, does anyone seriously think that bullet sponges are fun? Or are they just a manipulative game mechanic to get you to play the game longer by grinding for more legendary gear? Of course not. Bethesda would never implement such devious strategies. I shouldn't be surprised, really, but it always baffles me just how bad professional video game developers can be at balancing their own video games. It's really not that hard to balance a video game correctly. It's so easy, actually, that I was able to do it. How did I do that, you may ask? Well, I booted up this neat tool called Fallout 4 Edit, and I adjusted the health values for every single NPC, one by one. Did it take a long time? Yes. Was there a faster way to do this? Probably, but as the saying goes, work harder, not smarter. Combined with a few other mods from various authors, I completely fixed Fallout 4's awful balancing. That means no more ridiculous bullet sponges, no more broken legendary weapons, and no longer is the player character a living god. So, if you try to stand in front of a firing squad, you will die immediately. All of these changes make the game so much more enjoyable, challenging, and most of all, immersive. Dare I say, this is what Fallout should play like. After all, it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. But besides just having a balanced gaming experience, you know what else gamers need? That's right, a balanced and healthy diet. This video is sponsored by Factor. If you're tired of eating grilled radroach or baked bloatfly, then you need Factor. And boy, does Factor know a lot about balance. They have several different meal plans you can choose from, including Keto, Calorie Smart, Vegan, Chef's Choice, and my personal favorite, Protein Plus. So with Factor, it's easier than ever to stick to a meal plan and reach your diet goals. And my goodness, are these meals mad tasty. Whatever you do though, do not order the cheesy bacon ranch shredded chicken. It's mine. You can't have it. Just kidding, of course. You can order as much as you like. And the best part is that Factor delivers all these prepped meals straight to your door. All you have to do is take them out of the package, throw them in the microwave or oven for a few minutes, and boom, it is ready to be consumed. For someone like me, Factor is very useful because it saves so much time. There's no prep and no mess. So instead of spending all my precious time trying to cook food, I can instead spend it playing more Fallout 4. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POGBRANDYFEB50 for 50% off your first box. Big thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back into it. So you may be wondering, what exactly do I mean by perfectly balanced? And what are all these mods I used to fix Fallout 4's awful balancing? Well, first, let's start by getting rid of the worst gameplay mechanic in all of Fallout 4, the legendary system. In Fallout 4, some enemies may spawn in as a rare, legendary variant. Whenever these guys get low on health, they immediately regenerate all of their health and then start radiating a fiery yellow aura as if they're going Super Saiyan mode. They're almost twice as tough as their non-legendary counterparts, but you are rewarded with legendary equipment upon killing them, which is either a piece of armor or a weapon that has magical effects imbued into it. You can get really wacky things, such as a freezing flamethrower, a ghoul slayer's gamma gun, a never-ending double barrel, or even a fat man that shoots 2 nukes for the price of 1. If you get really lucky though, you can pull an explosive minigun, which is so insanely overpowered that it can delete 10 behemoths in just a few seconds. Meanwhile, a regular non-legendary minigun would take a few hundred rounds just to kill a single behemoth. As you can see, this system is highly nonsensical, extremely broken, and very manipulative. Because of all the bullet sponges in the game, you're basically forced to grind for hours to get that perfect legendary, or else your damage output will be pathetic. And when you do finally get that epic legendary weapon, the game then becomes laughably easy, even on the hardest difficulty. If this system got carried over to a multiplayer game, then my goodness, it would be a soul-sucking grind fest that would spawn a black market of duped and bugged guns. Oh wait. Anyway, this whole legendary system is dumb and extremely unbalanced. Plus, there is no reasoning or lore to justify the existence of these magical guns. So, I got rid of it entirely by using a mod called No Legendaries. It completely disables legendary spawns, both NPCs and equipment. However, it does not remove the unique legendaries that are sold by vendors. I just choose to ignore them though, and pretend like legendaries never existed. So now with the most problematic gameplay system out of the way, we can move on to fixing the bullet sponge issue. For that, we have my mod. It's called the Hardcore Health Overhaul. With this mod, I've completely tossed out the goofy MMORPG style health scaling and replaced it with concrete health ranges that are much more reasonable, and unlike the vanilla game, they actually respect Fallout's lore. I'm still following the rarity system though, so enemies will get tougher as they increase in level, but to a much lesser degree. For an example, humans used to have a crazy health range of 30 to 1300. So, some humans were as weak as a radroach, while others could be tougher than super mutants, Yaogwais, Deathclaws, and even behemoths. For something a bit more realistic, I changed the health range for humans to be 100 to 250. But what about the player character? By default, you could increase your health indefinitely, simply by leveling up. Like seriously, if you make it to level 115, you'll easily have over 1000 HP, and you can keep going until you basically become invincible. Well, obviously, that's stupid and very unbalanced. So, with my mod, you don't get any free health simply for leveling up. You'll start out with 100 HP, and the only way to increase it is to level up Endurance and take the Life Giver perk. With 10 Endurance and rank 3 in the Life Giver perk, you'll cap out at 250, just like everybody else. Of course, the health ranges apply to all the various mutated creatures throughout the wasteland as well. The health ranges for each enemy type are rather simple and intuitive. Basically, the bigger they are, the more health they have. Small creatures are squishy, large beasts are tough, and the massive monsters are absolute tanks, as they should be. Likewise, resistance values have been adjusted as well. The harder their skin or shell, the higher their resistance is. But some enemies aren't resistant to everything. It depends what they're made out of. For example, robots are made of metal, so they have a very high resistance to physical damage. But their circuits can be easily fried by energy weapons. Either that, or you can target their weak points for massive damage. That's another thing my mod changes, the critical hits and limb damage. By default, headshots would only deal twice as much damage, so that explains why the gunner from earlier could eat 29 headshots. But in my mod, headshots can deal up to 5 times more damage, so for the most part, humans will die in 1 or 2 headshots. On the other hand, limb shots will deal 30% less damage, but they can still be easily crippled. So that's how it works for humans. Other enemy types may have a lower headshot multiplier, or have different weak spots entirely. But overall, aiming for those critical areas is now much more rewarding. Being able to land those consistent headshots can mean the difference between life and death. So that's how my mod works. If you think it sounds cool, then you can try it out for yourself, like in the description. If you end up not liking my mod though, but still want a health overhaul, then I recommend you take a look at SCOURGE. Either way, now we've fixed the health values and gotten rid of the legendary system, but the game isn't perfectly balanced just yet. we still need to fix the weapons. The guns in the vanilla game have extremely nonsensical damage values. For example, the submachine gun is chambered in 45 ACP, and it has a base damage of 10. The combat rifle is also chambered in 45 ACP, yet it has 33 base damage. They shoot the same exact round, yet one does 3 times more damage. Even further, if you take any semi-auto gun and then convert it to full auto, it deals less damage. Why is that, you may ask? Probably because Bethesda thought it would be a good way to balance full auto guns. Basically, their logic is that the higher the fire rate, the lower the damage. But if you actually play the game, you'll find out that this doesn't make the full auto guns balanced. It just makes them underpowered. So something like the minigun, which has the highest fire rate in the whole game, also has the lowest base damage in the whole game. Normally, you'd expect miniguns to be absolutely devastating, but this one is so bad that you're better off using it as a melee weapon. So by this twisted logic, you'd think that the hunting rifle would have an extremely high base damage, but actually, no. It's only 4 points higher than the 45 caliber combat rifle, despite it being chambered in 308. And get this, right? With a fully upgraded 308 receiver, it has 55 base damage, but if you rechamber the combat rifle to use 308, that one does 57. So the hunting rifle fires the same round and has a fire rate 15 times slower, yet it deals less damage. So there's absolutely zero reason to use the hunting rifle. It's completely outclassed by the combat rifle in every aspect. Even if you rechamber the hunting rifle to use 50 caliber, its damage is still pathetic. So actually, it's pretty clear that Bethesda didn't have a formula in mind at all when balancing the weapons. They must have hired a monkey to do this part, because it looks like they just punched in a bunch of random numbers. Not only is there a bunch of tomfoolery with the base damages, but you can somehow magically upgrade their damage by taking perks associated with their weapon class. Look, I get it. This is a role-playing game. And these types of games pretty much always have skills and perks that increase your damage with certain weapon types. But for me personally, I think it's stupid and unimmersive for any shooter game to have a system like this. Because, unlike swords or magic, guns don't deal more damage simply because you know how to use them better. Obviously, their damage depends solely on the ammunition, and barrel length plays a role too. So to make things more immersive, I completely got rid of the damage scaling that came from perks and weapon upgrades. Why? Because in the vanilla game, I always felt like I wasn't allowed to use a gun before I took it home and upgraded it. Having to grind for all those upgrades was rather tedious too, but now I can simply pick a gun off a raider and use it to its full capacity. In turn, this makes things even more balanced, because by default, NPCs would rarely ever have weapon upgrades. So for the most part, they'd be dealing 75% less damage than you. With this new system I created, the damage of a gun is now dictated by the cartridge it fires. To do all of this, I once again booted up Fallout 4 Edit and edited the damage values for every single gun in the game, and by that, I mean the 100 plus gun mods I have installed. I had a specific formula in mind too. Mass times velocity. So, the bigger and faster the bullet, the more damage it deals. Groundbreaking stuff, I know. So for an example, 5.56 deals 33 damage, while the big bad 50 BMG deals 250. Combined with the health changes, most humans will die from a 5.56 rifle in 4 to 8 body shots. But basically nobody will be able to withstand a single hit from a 50 BMG, unless they're wearing some really good armor. And in case you're wondering, that means a headshot from a 50 BMG can deal a whopping 1250 damage. Ain't nobody gonna be eating 29 headshots from a 50 cal in my game. Not even behemoths. You may think that's overpowered, but 50 BMG in real life is overpowered. So, that's just how it works. You see, my perfectly balanced philosophy isn't about preventing guns from being too powerful. It's about balancing the guns to make them more accurate to their real-life counterparts. So things like machine guns, miniguns, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, and anti-material rifles are extremely powerful, as they should be. That being said, these big guns do come with some drawbacks, such as increased weight, slower maneuverability, and high ammunition cost. In addition to fixing the damage values, I also standardized things such as weight, recoil, range, and accuracy. So now, any 5.56 rifle will have a very similar performance to another 5.56 rifle, but there are slight variations to set them apart. Overall, this system is much more balanced than the vanilla game. Pretty much every gun has a use too, so now I don't feel locked into using a single weapon throughout my entire playthrough. Lower caliber guns may be objectively less powerful than heavy weapons, but they can still be used to clear out humans and small creatures to great effect. Meanwhile, the big guns are saved for special occasions, because using them 24/7 wouldn't be very ammo efficient. I'm still working on sorting out all these gun mods in my load order, so if you want to get a similar experience for yourself in-game, then I heavily recommend using a mod called True Damage. It has the same philosophy as my personal mod, meaning that the damage for guns are now based on the cartridge they fire. But instead of working harder, this mod author chose to work smarter. True Damage removes most of the damage from the firearms themselves and applies them directly to the projectile. After all, it's not the guns that kill people, it's the bullets. So that means this mod works with any gun, modded or vanilla, right out of the box. It's also got some settings you can tweak to your liking, but you can't adjust the damages that the projectiles deal. So if you don't like True Damage's default balancing, then you can download my balance patch for it, which mimics the damage values that I use in my own game. Another thing that I like about True Damage is that it automatically renders damage perks and upgrades nearly useless. They may increase your damage by a few points, but definitely not by 175%. However, this does create a problem, because the perks are still there, but there's no reason to take them. So in addition to everything else, we also need to adjust the perk system. And for that, I use a fantastic mod called Be Exceptional. It completely overhauls the perk system and replaces it with something that's more akin to Fallout 3 and New Vegas. And yes, that means it reintroduces skills too. Damage perks such as Rifleman have been removed from the game and are now replaced by a skill, such as the Rifle skill. And by leveling up the Rifle skill, you can unlock some unique perks to make your rifles a little bit more effective. The bonuses are rather minor though, so don't expect anything too crazy. To make these skills even more useful, I also have the Humble Perks add-on, which adds in a few more perks along with the Survival skill. And there you go. That's how I fixed Fallout 4's awful balancing. Now I don't have to worry about doing all these mental gymnastics to maximize my build, or spend 100 hours trying to find that perfect double-shot bleeding explosive poop fart 9000 legendary. At this point, I can't even fathom going back to vanilla. It's just so boring in comparison. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys think about Fallout 4's balancing, and what do you think about my own version that I crafted up? If you've got any ideas, feedback, or other mods to share, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see y'all in the next video.